With more than 6,000 small and micro-cap companies listed, if you're looking for the next apple at the earliest stage, then channelchek truly is the orchard. The listed companies support channelchek, so it's free for you, the potential investor, to gain access to institutional quality research from FINRA licensed analysts, advanced market data, industry reports, news, and a growing catalog of videos and webcasts. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and register for channelchek so you're always up to date on what's going on at the small and microcap data place. Welcome to this special edition of the C-Suite series presented by channelchek and Noble Capital Markets. Noble is an SEC-registered, FINRA-licensed broker-dealer and the source of the equity research available on channelchek. This Uranium Power Players Investor Forum presentation features Standard Uranium, OTC ticker symbol STTDF, TSXV ticker symbol STND. Following a brief overview presentation from President and CEO John Bay and VP of Exploration Sean Hillacre, Noble Senior Research Analyst Michael Heim will moderate a Q&A session. With that, I am pleased to present John and Sean.
Hi everyone, it's John Bay from Standard Uranium. Today, Sean Hillacre, our VP of Exploration, and I are going to walk you through a basic introduction to Standard Uranium. So here we go. Our first slide is our legal disclaimer, so please take a look at that in your time. We are going to be making some forward-looking statements today. For those of you that have not heard of us before, we are a Canadian junior uranium exploration company focused in the Athabasca Basin of Canada. This slide you're looking at right now is a map of Canada, and then it zooms in on northern Saskatchewan where the Athabasca Basin is. And you can see we have 5 projects there. Now our goal is to find the fuel to power a clean energy future. And we believe that Saskatchewan is the greatest place in the world to find high-grade uranium. And that's what we're about to do for our shareholders. So right now you can see the bottom left corner, that is the Davidson River project. That is the focus of a drill program we're doing right now. So here's a bit of a snapshot of our company. Once again, on the right, you can see the circle map, our Davidson River projects in the bottom left there. And then you can see on the right of that map, 3 yellow dots. That's Fission's RRR, NextGen's Arrow, and the Patterson Lake Spitfire project, which belongs to Pure Point Energy. Those all sit on the Patterson Lake conductor, and we believe that same conductor runs right through our Davidson River project. We're going to be talking about that today. So Standard Uranium, we took this company public in May 4th of last year, 2020. So we've been public now for over a year. At that point in time, we were a 5 million market cap company. We had our projects that hadn't had any exploration drill work done on them yet. So our goal was to take the company public, raise some capital, and start drilling. And that's exactly what we've done, hitting every milestone to date. So I mentioned our flagship project is our Davidson River. We're going to be talking all about that with Sean Hillacre taking us deep into that. And our team, we built a team specifically built to make exploration success happen in Saskatchewan, and we'll walk you through who our team members are. And once again, we talk about nuclear power and the nuclear power renaissance. We believe right now is the greatest time in the world for nuclear energy to continue to grow and become more valuable as the world moves to a clean energy future. And for us, specifically short-term catalysts are drill programs, and we're drilling right now in our Davidson River project, and we anticipate drilling this winter again on this project, as well as our Sundog project in the north. So let me take you to our next slide. I talked about our team. So here is a snapshot of our management and our board of directors. Myself, the president, CEO, and a director. I have been involved in this company from the very start. I founded it back in 2017, and I built this team out for all the gentlemen you see in front of you, and of course, Lori Thomas, the one female. So starting with our technical team, Neil McCallum is our lead technical director. He's been with us from the start as well. We added Garrett Ainsworth shortly after as a director, and then we brought on Sean Hillacre and Galen McNamara last summer. We'll talk about the technical team in more detail on the next slide. Also on our board of directors, we have Ken Judge and Blair Jordan, both capital markets guys, lawyers and capital markets experts. And then we have Martin Bajic, our CFO, and Lori Thomas, our VP of Investor Relations. So specifically talking about our exploration and technical team, this slide really shows you the depth of the technical team we have. Now, these guys have all had success specifically in the Athabasca Basin, and more specifically in the southwest corner where our Davidson River project is. So if you can see the 3 guys on the right, Galen, Garrett, and Sean, they've all come to us from NextGen. So Garrett was quite well known originally when he made the radioactive boulder discovery, which led to Fission's R project. He then left his company and went and joined NextGen, where he was a VP of exploration for several years, building out the Arrow project with Galen McNamara and Sean Hillacre as well. Now, Sean is our most recent addition. He joined us last summer. Sean just published his most recent paper on the Arrow project. We'll let him speak a bit about that when it's his turn to talk today. And then Neil McCallum, our lead technical director. Neil's been working in this region for many years, 15 plus regions, and with many junior uranium exploration companies, and he knows this region exceptionally well. Now, let's talk about the Davidson River project more specifically. So if you look at this map right here, you can see all the different companies that are focused in this region. You can see the NextGens, the Oranos, the Camecos, the PurePoints, Denison, ALX. A lot of companies are over here working right now. For us, this is a really important time for us as we've just begun our first drill program last summer, and now we're entering into our third drill program. Our goal, once again, is to make a high-grade uranium discovery basement hosted. Now, how are we going to do that? I'll let Sean speak to that. But what's really exciting about this region is the projects that have been discovered here in the last 10 years. So first R was discovered by Fission, and then Arrow was discovered shortly after by NextGen. Those two projects are probably well known right now as probably two of the best discoveries that aren't mined yet globally. So it's great to have those two right in the same region we are. And I'll say once again, we are not just an area play, just a company sitting beside these guys. We'll get into more detail as why specifically we believe we're ripe for another discovery. So uranium country, we've talked about, if you're going to be a few things going for your company, some of the things you really want to know are you in a region where you can actually get work done? Can you make a discovery but actually take that discovery into production? And the answer in Saskatchewan is yes. Saskatchewan has once again been rated one of the top 3 places on the globe to actually advance mining projects. So we're really happy about that. On top of that, there's a great skilled labor force in this region. Not only our First Nations partners have a lot of qualified individuals, but also the whole province of Saskatchewan is really built on mining infrastructure. The highways run right through there. There's airports coming close by. Lots of ways to get to our project and get, once the mines are built in this region, to be able to access it. I know many of you probably are aware of the NextGen Arrow project and how things are growing there. We believe that project is en route to becoming a mine in the next number of years. And should they advance that, turn it into a mine, the infrastructure in this region is even going to get better for us. Now, to say that, you look around the world, you look for grade. Where is the grade the best? Nowhere better than in Saskatchewan. If you look at that chart at the bottom, you can see the grades of uranium in Saskatchewan they blow away anywhere else in the world by many multiples. So we're looking for one of those typical deposits, high grade, that we can take and put right into build a mine around it and a mill. All right, so let's get over to the macro story. So right now, you're probably following the uranium story. You're probably seeing all the things that are happening right now, and most specifically, Sprott's takeover of UPC and then listing with the ATM going live last week. So this is being recorded today, and today here we are almost at the end of August. So I'm guessing there'll be a lot more developments from Sprott over the next few weeks by the time you see this presentation. We do know that it's moved up 10% in the first few days of trading, which is extremely exciting. There are many other parts that I think are really important to take note of. Number one is nuclear is really becoming ESG. It's being recognized around the globe as the future for clean energy. People are understanding now that wind and solar are great, but they just can't get the job done. Nuclear is going to be needed to take this world to a carbon-free future, and we believe the timing is remarkable to be investing in uranium. In the U.S., 93 current reactors currently operable, and another one being built right now, and the future for small modular reactors coming online over the next 5-10 years is remarkable, and that's going to drive even stronger uranium demand. Now, when we talk about timing, for us, it's not just about the macro timing globally in uranium, it's also about the micro timing, where we are as a company. So if you look at this Lassonde curve, you can see our symbol right there at the bottom. We are pre-discovery, which means it's time for investors to invest with us right now pre-discovery. They still have the opportunity to partake in what could be a huge upswing in our share price. We like to think of it as, and comparing ourselves to where Fission and NextGen were pre-discovery, and once they made those discoveries, shareholders did exceptionally well. So that's where we are, in the middle of our third drill program, pre-discovery, so a remarkable time to invest along with Standard Uranium. Now, the Clearwater domain mirror theory. Now we're going to start getting into more technical stuff. So I'm going to get Sean, our VP of Exploration, to hop in here and start talking about the Clearwater domain mirror theory and why that's important to our Davidson River project. And then that'll lead us into our exploration program part of the presentation. So Sean, hop on in here.
Sounds good, John. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the Clearwater domain mirror theory is kind of this, scientific theory based on the geology of the Southwest Athabasca Basin that we're looking at to help lead us to that next high-grade discovery. So on this slide here, you can see that map of our Davidson River project down in the Southwest Athabasca Basin. And as John mentioned before, you can see those, three main discoveries lying along the Patterson Lake corridor. So these exploration corridors are packages of graphite-bearing and sulfide-bearing rocks that we use to try and narrow in to a discovery. So you can see they all lie along that same linear corridor, which then wraps up and around through to the northwest, right through our Davidson River property. So what I've done here is drawn a little schematic cross-section through this map. So you can see the line there, A to A prime, that represents that cross-section through the map. So you can see on the left-hand side, our standard uranium Davidson River property there with our four main conductive corridors that we're exploring, named Saint, Warrior, Bronco, and Thunderbird. And then on the other side of the Clearwater domain, which is a series of large granitic and granitoid intrusions that provide the heat and fluids and potentially a source of uranium as well for these systems. On the other side of that, you can see the Patterson Lake corridor. So we have some known uranium ore zones on that side of the corridor. So this red zone there would essentially represent the Arrow deposit. And so we're looking for the exact same thing on the other side. So it's basically a mirror image of the Patterson Lake corridor. And as John mentioned, it's not just an area play. It's based on science, on the geology, and on how, prospective these things really could be on our project. So it's very exciting for us as geologists and detectives going in and looking at these things to try and find the next big deposit. So what we do, as I mentioned, is we look at these main conductive corridors, which are, basically our first step to going into looking for these next uranium deposits. So we've flown several different geophysical surveys across our Davidson River project, and we've identified several different conductive corridors on the project. We have four main ones that I mentioned, Saint, Warrior, Bronco, and Thunderbird. And we overlay those main corridors with our other geophysical surveys. And then we basically target drill holes where all of these different characteristics line up, and that makes a good drill target. So we're looking for things like electromagnetic bright spots. We're looking for cross-cutting structures that we can identify from regional magnetic surveys, where these corridors essentially get broken up and disrupted. That can create space for fluids to come in and mix and potentially precipitate uranium mineralization. So we look for all of these different ingredients essentially to make the next deposit, and that's where we target our drill holes, is where these things line up. So getting into our past drill programs now on the Davidson River project. Phase 1 drilling took place in the summer of 2020. We completed 13 drill holes in just over 5,600 meters. The Warrior corridor had many of our highest priority geophysical targets, like we just talked about. And so we went in with our first round of drilling to go in and test those ones along Warrior. So we commenced in about August 2020. And then even under the strict COVID-19 protocols, we had a phenomenal program that went off without a hitch. We had zero health and safety incidents, zero cases of COVID, and it was a massive success logistically and technically as well. We drill tested what we inferred originally to be, a possible continuation of that Patterson Lake corridor, searching for high-grade uranium. We did some aggressive step outs along strike. You can see on the map that we've drilled towards the northwest and all the way down to the southeast along the corridor. And then we also tested several zones where these different geophysical characteristics line up that we want to see. So we identified several different follow-up targets from our very first pass of drilling. as John mentioned, there had been 0 drill holes for uranium on this property ever. So this was our first pass, and we intersected some nice looking structures, some localized alteration, and then we refined our search and went back for phase 2 in winter 2021. So on the next slide here, you can see what we accomplished during the harsh northern Saskatchewan winter that we had in 2021. We drilled another 7 holes for just over 3,000 meters, testing up mostly on Warrior on our follow-up targets there. So we completed 6 holes along Warrior and then punched our very first hole into the St. Trend, which was really exciting for us as well. So we also pushed in an access trail, and we were able to save some costs there with helicopter. So we were able to drive in and use skid access drills to get in there and drill Warrior and Saint as well. So again, with COVID sort of, continuing to wreak havoc on the northern communities and logistics everywhere across the country, we managed to get up there and complete a successful program despite those challenges as well. So upon further refinement, here was some of the results that we saw from that phase 2 drill program. So like I said, during phase 1, we identified some really good structures and some localized alteration in the basement rocks. And so here's some of the photos of the core showing those types of structures and alteration that I'm speaking of. So these are the things that we're really looking for to help us vector into the next discovery. As John mentioned, we're looking for high-grade uranium deposits in this area, but these are the clues in the rocks that are going to point us in that right direction. So on the left-hand pictures there, you can see some of those really, really good-looking structures in the basement rocks on the Warrior Trend, really broken up looking rocks, altered, soft, lots of clay minerals in there, and graphite remobilized as well. And then on the right-hand side there, you can see our very first hole into the Saint corridor, which was extremely altered and broken up near the top of the basement. And then we hit some further graphitic structure deeper in the basement, around 412 meters there in picture letter E. So really good indications of structural disturbance along these corridors, which got us really excited to plan a really big program for this summer and go back and hit it hard and really try to expedite the company and our shareholders to that next big discovery in this area. So we planned a really big program, an ambitious program for this summer, 10,000 meters in total. And we plan to go back to Warrior, test some follow-up targets there, as well as step out to the southeast for some good-looking targets that we haven't been able to test yet, and as well as following up along strike of the Saint Trend, and then branching out to Bronco and Thunderbird as well for the very first time. So far this summer, we've gone back to Warrior, and we've been progressing from east to west across the property. And we've drilled more holes into Saint. We've drilled more holes into the southeast end of Warrior. And we're really excited to be drilling Bronco currently, and really excited to step out to Thunderbird as well. So lots of really exciting results to talk about, and some new rocks to see as we progress our summer 2021 program, which is in progress right now. So lots of exciting things happening, and really exciting time to be exploring in this part of the world.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that, Sean. Now, let me jump in here and say we are getting questions currently from investors wanting to know what's going on with the drill program. Can you tell us what you're seeing in the core? And my answer is, would love to share that with you, and we will as soon as we put that out via news release. So once we put the news release out, we'll be able to speak to exactly what we're seeing in the core. So anticipate that in the near future. On top of that, we have delivered our first batch of core to the assay labs in Saskatoon, and we anticipate getting those results back in 6 to 8 weeks. And then at the following end of our drill program, the final batch of our drill core will go to the assay lab again, and we'll expect to get those results back probably in late November, early December. And I also want to add that it's very important for everyone to understand, our relationship with our First Nations partners in this region, which is very strong. Chief Clark from the Clearwater River Dene Nation and our team at Standard Uranium, we've got a great relationship, and we've been working very, very closely with them through this program. And we anticipate this program is actually going to continue on through the end of September and possibly into mid-October, which is great to see. Any final comments on the Davidson River program, Sean, before we move on to Sundog?
Nope, I think you hit the nail on the head, and everybody's good.
Excellent. Okay, let's hop over to the northern part of the province, and we can talk about our Sundog project. Go ahead.
Sounds good. So we're just going to head up north here, like John said, up towards Uranium City, and look at our Sundog project. So this project here is a fairly large one, 100% owned by the company. And up here, we got some really exciting targets as well. We're still looking for high-grade Athabasca style and unconformity-related mineralization up here. So our exploration targets up here are slightly different than down at Davidson River. We're not specifically looking for just basement hosted, but the great thing about these Athabasca style deposits is they can host mineralization in those basement rocks, right at the interface between basement rocks and the sandstone, and then up into the sandstone as well. So on our Sundog project, we have a lot of historical data to go off of already, which is handy when we're coming to look for these things. So you can see on the map there, we've identified several, historical and newer V10 and Z10 corridors. Those are the conductors that I was speaking about earlier. And then we also have some historical drilling on this property as well. So you can see that there actually is already some mineralized drill holes on the property, which is great to go off of. So we did some reconnaissance sampling up there last fall, and sent a team up there to do a little bit of ground truthing to some of these historical results, because with historical results, you always need to go in, do your due diligence, and make sure things are what they say they are in the report. So we went up there, we got some really interesting samples at surface, off-scale radioactivity on our handheld scintillometer right at surface within the sandstones. Took those assays back to SRC here in Saskatoon, and we got some really good grades back, over 3.5% in some locations at surface, which is fantastic. So our exploration strategy for the Sundog project is to come back up here with kind of our modern understanding of how these deposits work and the importance to the basement roots of these systems. So we're going to come up here, we're going to do a little bit more ground gravity and some detailed magnetics to help refine our basement targets. And we're going to come back and hopefully do a drill program this coming winter in 2022 and really start to test where these uranium pods are coming from, the source, the roots in those basement rocks, and really flesh out this system as a whole. So currently we're working really closely with the Yathenini group and Lands and Resources group up in this area. And they've been fantastic to work with so far. So community engagement has been a big part of planning our work up in this part of the world. And we're really looking forward to getting up there, maybe even this fall and early next winter to get some work done up there and start, building our relationships with the community leaders and skilled workforce that we have up there at our disposal as well.
Excellent. Thanks, Sean. Why don't we hop over to the eastern side of the basin and speak to us about those projects there?
Sounds good. So we actually have 3 different projects over on the east side of the basin. I'm sure anybody who does know the Athabasca Basin knows that the east side of the basin is really well developed when it comes to uranium. All of our big classic deposits are over here, Cigar Lake, McArthur River, and as well as operating mills and mines. So really good infrastructure over here in this part of the world. As you can see on the map there, there's a big highway kind of coming right through the western block of our Atlantic project. And so we do have 3, like I said, Atlantic, Canary, and Ascent. And our exploration strategy for these projects is also very similar to that of Sundog. So we are within the basin over here. And so we're looking for uranium mineralization both in the basement, at that unconformity surface, and up into the sandstone, or what we call perched mineralization. So really exciting targets here as well. There's, you can see Ascent is right on the edge of the basin. Canary is just into it, and Atlantic a bit deeper. So as you move in from the margin of that Athabasca Basin, which is essentially kind of a bowl of sand, things get thicker, and your economics of your project might go down a little bit. But we're close enough to the edge here that we have a really shallow target depth to most of our geophysical targets on these areas. So we also have a little bit of a historical work to go off of here as well. You can see there's several conductors on our property. You can actually see ISO Energy's Hurricane discovery that was just made here in the last handful of years, which is fantastic. And as I said, the infrastructure and access to these locations is also fantastic. So the Athenini has, jurisdiction over in this area as well. So that's really great to continue working with them and get all of these projects covered off in our engagement over here as well. So there's very little additional exploration that we need to do on these projects to get them drill ready. We have a little bit of work planned to piggyback off our Sundog work next winter, and then these things will be ready to go drill. So we're just getting all permitted. I will say now that Sundog is 100% permitted and ready to go, and these projects here are just in that process right now.
Excellent. Thanks, Sean. And I will step in again and start dealing with the corporate information for our listeners.
Sounds good.
All right. So if you look at this slide, you can see a number of things. Number one, you can have a look at where our share price is today, what our market cap is. So we're currently valued around 30 million as of today. As I mentioned, we went public with a market cap of 5 million just over 16, 17 months ago, which is fantastic. You may be aware we just completed a corporate financing in the last few weeks, raising $5 million. We announced a $4 million raise on July the 9th, and then we completed that at $5 million actually within 4 weeks later. So really proud of the work we did on that, and had a great support from our current shareholder base and a few new shareholders added to the mix. Our capital structure, you can now see we have 112 million shares outstanding and fully diluted 162. So that's a combination of warrants and 7 million options. If you look at our share price, we went public on May the 4th at a share price of 15 cents. We've traded up and down a little bit, and we're currently at 27 cents today. And then on the bottom left, you can see the group of strategic shareholders we have. So management insiders, we own roughly about 10 to 15% of the company right now. And then we have a couple investment funds, specifically uranium funds, Station Cove led by Mike Elkin out of New York, Azarias Capital, also out of the USA, L2 Capital out of Australia, with Tribeca out of Australia as well, Guy Keller running Tribeca, and Marcelo Lopez running L2 Capital. All those companies are good partners to have involved in the project. They are well known in the uranium investment community, so to have them believe in us and invest with us, it says a great deal to give confidence to our other investors out there. And once again, why invest in Standard Uranium? The bullet points are, we've built a management team specifically designed to make an exploration discovery in the Southwest Athabasca Basin. We believe the macro story for uranium is exceptionally strong right now. We're in the best place in the world to make a discovery, that is Saskatchewan, the Athabasca Basin. We've got 5 projects. One we're drilling right now. We plan to be drilling the Sundog in the north this winter, and then following up and drilling for the first time our Eastern Basin projects by 2022. And once again, we are pre-discovery, so a wonderful time to invest with us prior to a discovery for the greatest shareholder value in that point. So once again, Standard Uranium, if we now look forward to taking some questions and giving you more information about the company. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John and Shane. That was a terrific presentation. I want to start out with my questions with a very general one. We're kind of used to hearing companies staking their claim on either the east side or the west side of the Athabasca, and you are a little bit different, being all over the place. Would you give me a little bit of the history of how your various pieces came together?
Sure, I'd be happy to, Michael. So when you go back to how we started this project, in 2017, we had the opportunity to acquire the Davidson River project. Now, to us, that was an exceptional opportunity, because if you go back in time, way back in time to when everyone was exploring on the eastern side of the basin and somewhere up in the far north, nobody really thought there were projects of value in the southwest corner until the radioactive boulders were discovered by a geologist by the name of Garrett Ainsworth. And that led to a real staking rush in the southwest corner of the basin. And the individual who staked our project was Jody DeRouge. So he had that project. At the time, he was a director with Fission Uranium. He left Fission, he kept the project, and it was basically tied up for many years and not able to be explored. So we acquired it in 2017. And during that whole period from 2012 to 2017, you can imagine there was a great deal of exploration going on in the Athabasca Basin southwest corner. Fission advanced their R project. NextGen made their Arrow discovery. PurePoint made their Spitfire discovery. Lots of other companies were in that region exploring, and our project had never been touched. So for us to be able to grab that and be able to be the first company exploring it was a remarkable opportunity, and we grabbed at it. Now, after that, the opportunity to acquire a project in the far north of Sundog came up, and we staked that ourselves. And we believe on the theory of what we're going to find there. So we staked that out, and we started doing exploration work on it last year. And then the Eastern Basin projects, we staked those as well during the last year and a half. So those projects are, tier 2 and tier 3 for us, with our Davidson River being our tier 1 project.
And then I want to take you just into some timing questions a little bit. And you pulled out the chart of the Lassonde curve, and you see, you said several times you see yourself as a pre-discovery, although we're doing drilling now. So is the idea another year with the phase 2 of Davidson, and then you indicated 2022 up in Sundog, and then who knows on the rest of the properties, but that's kind of the time frame for drilling the next 2 or 3 years?
Well, our Sundog project is next in the queue, so we anticipate completing our relationships and agreements with our First Nation partners, the STND.V, and starting our drill program potentially as early as February or March of this upcoming 2022. The Davidson River project is a massive project with 4 major trends. We're drilling it right now. We've done 2 previous drill programs. We could be drilling this project for many, many years. And as Sean has alluded to in previous presentations, every drill hole that comes out of the ground could be that next discovery hole. So every program is as exciting as the last one. So we're doing that right now. We're drilling. We're going to be drilling right to early into October, and then we anticipate coming back again in the winter and next summer and continuing to drill that amazing project.
At what point do you think you enter the next stage, the feasibility stage? I assume doing some preliminary economic analysis and stuff like that.
Those things all happen after a discovery has been made, so we can't get into those things until a discovery's been made. So we're focused on making that discovery first, and then once that discovery is made, forward-looking statement, of course, then we go into expanding that and defining a resource, and then going from there.
Yeah. And I know I want to ask you questions about the current drilling, except to say you're expecting results. You kind of gave some target points, but we should be looking for stuff maybe towards the end of the year.
Yeah, so we anticipate getting our first assay results back towards, probably towards the end of October, and then the second batch of results coming back towards mid-December, roughly.
Do you think that the drilling you're doing in phase 2 is enough to prove this mirror theory, or is it not as black and white to describe it that way?
I think we've already proven the mirror theory. Sean can speak to that. He's he spent 5 years working with NextGen on the Arrow deposit specifically. So part of the mirror theory was actually proving out that the rocks on the western side of the Athabasca Basin were very similar to the rocks on the eastern side of the basin, sort of being the mirror. Maybe Sean, I'll let you hop in and speak to that as well.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that was the whole thing. Not necessarily the rocks on the west, being the same as the east side of the basin, but the east side of that Clearwater domain specifically. So we know that we are in those same basement rock packages that we see where that do host uranium along the Patterson Lake corridor. And then not only that, but we're seeing the continuation of very similar looking structures with all the same characteristics, which is what I said. That's exactly what we're looking for to help point us in the right direction to actually find that deposit. So having those things is very important as ingredients to do that work and to actually find a deposit rather than just drilling corridors for fun.
I'm going to shift into the finance section a little bit here. You mentioned the capital raise you just did. I haven't heard any numbers on what your drilling program costs. Do you have enough cash on hand now to make it through to cover phase 2, I guess?
Oh yeah, for sure we do. So we started the program with about just over $2 million in the bank account. The program itself was roughly, we're budgeting between $4 and $5 million, depending on how far we get along in the program. And we've just raised another $5 million, so we have $5 million in the bank right now. So we've got plenty of cash to get us through this program and be well set up going into 2022.
Yeah, and to also keep everything in good standing too. I will add to that as well.
Jumping back a second to the various areas that you're drilling in, how do you make determinations about the importance of drilling in each of the areas versus hitting the best targets? You have, as you just said, ample cash. How do you use to make those cash decisions?
Sure. Well, I'm going to tee this up for Sean. First of all, we're going to be talking about specifically the Davidson River project where we're drilling right now, where we have 4 main conductors. So, Sean, maybe give Michael a bit of an explanation as to how we pick those targets on each of those 4 conductors and which ones are our priority to us.
Sure. So as I kind of, tried to explain in the presentation as well, we look at several different layers of geophysics. We don't have, any outcrop or rocks at surface in that area at Davidson River to point us in the right direction. So we are looking for what we call a blind deposit that is, maybe a kilometer below the surface, which we can't see. So we rely on these different surveys to point us in the right direction. So we run several different types of surveys. We overlap all of those, and where, say 4 or 5 of these ingredients, I like to call them, line up, that makes a good drill target. And as well, these corridors and these structures that we talk about are essentially the plumbing system for the uranium to come through and precipitate a deposit. So that's what we really want to see. We want to see where these things have opened up and allowed for uranium-bearing fluids to come in and interact with those graphite rocks, those sulfide rocks, and that's how we get uranium deposits in this part of the world. So that's what really makes a great target. And unfortunately, like I said, they're blind. So, it could look like a really good target geophysically, but until we put drill holes in there, it's hard to know for sure. So every drill hole that we put in there is money well spent. We get a lot of information out of those drill holes with our geologists looking at the rocks, and we can plot things up into 3D. We have different softwares that we use to really help us refine our targets, and once we actually get some subsurface information as well. So I hope that clears things up a bit.
Ultimately, I assume you see Standard as a exploration company. Walk me through what happens when we're kind of done with the drilling results. Do you bring in partners? Do you sell the company? Or do you take a next step and change from being an exploration company and move closer to being a producing company?
Great question, Michael. So currently we are an exploration company and we've got multiple projects in our portfolio that we will be exploring. On top of that, we are constantly looking for other projects, primarily in North America right now. We see the US as a great area to be looking at right now. We are looking at that with some other companies out there that we've signed CAs with. We see ourselves exploring, continuing. And if we make that high-grade discovery in Saskatchewan, we will continue to drill that out and define a resource. Now, that could take several years to see how big that deposit could be. And at that point, we anticipate there'll be many other opportunities that come across our plate, whether we choose to, become miners ourselves or sell that out. I mean, our goal is, we'd really like to see our partners, or not our partners, our friends right next door over at NextGen and Fission advance their projects into mines and mills. That would make our project a great opportunity for them to add more feed into their mill.
Since you brought up milling and you mentioned that there are some mills up north, is that the idea if this gets to a production stage and absent what you talked about, some new mills being built down south, that it would stuff would be shipped up north?
Well, where we are in the southwest corner of Davidson River project, we're literally 25 kilometers just down the road from both Fission and NextGen. So we believe, NextGen's plan right now is to build a mine and a mill, and that would make the most sense. There's no reason in building 2 mills side by side in that region, so that would be the perfect opportunity for our feed to go into that mill should we have a discovery.
And you've got good infrastructure, everything you need, I assume, since you're around other areas that are already actively drilling? Perfect.
Yeah, so we have a highway that runs right up beside our camp where we stay. That is the Big Bear Camp in northern Saskatchewan, about 200 kilometers north of the town of La Loche. At that camp is where we currently house our drill team, our geologists, and then we've got an access trail which runs right out to our project site. So depending on the weather and the time of year, we can fly helicopters back and forth to do a lot of the work, or we can actually drive the access trail right to our project site.
When we get the results of phase 2, will that lead to a phase 3?
Most definitely. We will be drilling this project for the foreseeable future. We just raised cash right now. We'll be using that for drilling this one and moving forward into further exploration programs in the future.
Okay. Well, I think that runs through all the questions I had. I appreciate your time in answering them and your presentations, and I wish you the best of luck going forward.
Thank you very much, Michael. It's been great to have the opportunity to share our story with your audience and answer questions that you've lined out for us. So once again, thank you to Noble, and I look forward to speaking to your audience in the future. Reach out to us at any time through social media, through our website. Our contact details are all there. Please take the time to check us out on YouTube or Twitter. We've got all kinds of videos we're putting out showing what's going on at our project site, and where you can meet our team and see what's going on in real time. So thanks again, Michael.
Thank you for joining us for this C-Suite interview presentation brought to you by channelchek. Visit our YouTube channel for more interview content, as well as virtual roadshows and conference presentation replays. New content is added regularly, so subscribe below to stay up to date. Visit channelchek.com or click the link in the description to access equity research, news, and advanced market data on this and the 6,000 other small and micro-cap companies listed.